All right, so I'm going to repeat what I said last week. That we are here presenting a book that may or may not reflect our complete understanding or even agreeing or disagreeing with what's being presented, but our responsibility to present the book as the book is. Transfiguration something is another topic that is kind of hairy in my opinion. Okay. I think as always, the explanations, the hypothesis presented by Kardec are extremely reasonable, but perhaps not everyone will take it, and that's absolutely okay, and that's exactly what the doctrine asks for us. We have intelligence, we have free will, we should use it. Okay?
Okay, so we begin with transfiguration. 122. We shall now consider the second phenomenon, transfiguration, which entails a modification of the appearance of a living body. Regarding it, here is a case that occurred between 1858 and 1859 on the outskirts of St. Etienne, and whose perfect authenticity we can guarantee.
Okay, thanks, Ryder.
Okay.
So let's start with the definition given by Kardec for what is transfiguration. So the transfiguration is modification of the appearance of a living body. What everybody to understand is that it's the modification of the appearance, okay, of our physical body. We're not talking about the perispirit here, okay? That's I know it's simple. I don't want to, but it's very important to understand what we're talking about here. It's the modification of the appearance of the physical body, okay? And another thing that I think is important over here, the authenticity can be guaranteed.
Okay.
Thanks.
A young lady of about 15 possessed the strange faculty of being able to transfigure herself, in that at any given moment she can take on the appearances of certain deceased individuals. This illusion was so complete as to lead one to believe that one was actually in the person's presence due to similarity of the facial traits, expressions, voice tone, and even the specific speech patterns. This phenomenon repeated itself hundreds of times without any interference from the girl's will. She often took on the appearance of her brother, who had died a few years earlier, reproducing not only his facial features, but also his girth and height. A local doctor who was often present during these strange occurrences wanted to assure himself that he was not the victim of an illusion. So he performed the following experiment. We gathered the information from the doctor himself, the girl's father, and many other trustworthy and honorable eyewitnesses. The doctor decided to weigh the girl in her normal state. And then during a transfiguration in which she took on the appearance of her brother, who had died at age 20 and who had been much larger and stronger than she. The doctor subsequently verified that during transfiguration, the girl's weight nearly doubled. The experiment was conclusive since it was impossible to attribute the appearance to a simple optical illusion. We will try to explain this type of occurrence, which has always been regarded as a miracle, but which we simply label as a phenomenon.
Okay,
Gail might
thanks.
explain it.
Hmm?
Explain, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we have the what Kardec means by the word transfiguration. He defined as the modification of the appearance of the hue of the physical body. Okay, and he bring one example of young lady or about 15 years or so, who in the state of trance was able to modify the appearance of the body, of a physical body, in which you'd actually look like deceased or dead people. Naturally, those dead people would have to be somewhat um, known by someone in that group who could say, well, she's looking like H, she's looking like B, she's looking like G, right?
Mhm.
And one of those individuals that her physical body would look like was a brother who died earlier at age 20. That was much bigger and fat than she was. And during this state of trance in the state of transfiguration, she would resemble a lot like that deceased brother. Then what you see here is application of science at its best. A doctor want to make sure that there is no hanky-panky going on, there is no optical illusion, there is no fraud, there is no charlatanism going on, and tested very wisely so. The brother was much bigger, much larger, perhaps should also weight more than the young girl. So he weighted the weighted the girl, had X pounds, and during the transfiguration, he weighted her in that state of transfiguration, and she weighted X plus Y. She had a greater weight than she was in her normal state of consciousness. Now, one could believe or disbelieve. One could witness, see the doctor putting those weights over there and still not believe. And I imagine that would be the case of the great majority, at least the great majority of people that I know. If you would be open-minded to accept the reality that's being presented. Okay, and again, it's not an easy thing for one to believe, but if assume that is in fact it's a fact. Let's assume that indeed it happens, and this, as proved by this doctor, it did happen. Okay, we should have a scientific mind, should have as spiritists, so no application of reason. If it's showing right in front of you, it's there. Now we need explanations. How, why, as someone with a scientific mind would do exactly what this doctor did. The doctor proved that even the weight changed. Now Kardec goes further. We need to understand this. How is it possible? Because that's the first question one would ask. How is it possible? When I read this, I stop and say, no, come on. Even the weight changed?
Right.
How is that really possible? So let's see, during Kardec's investigations with his scientific mind, what he was able to find.
Mm.
Any questions, any comments?
Mm.
123.
In certain cases, transfiguration can occur as a result of a simple muscular contraction that can cause a very different facial expression to such a degree that the person becomes unrecognizable. We have often observed this in a few somnambulists. However, in this case, transfiguration is not radical. A woman may appear to be young or old. Can I move the screen?
You don't see the page?
Okay, now, beautiful or homely, but she will always be the same woman and her weight will neither increase nor decrease. However, in the case of the young lady, there was obviously something more involved. The theory of the perispirit will send us in the right direction. We accept in principle that the spirit can give its perispirit any appearance it chooses, and by modifying its molecular arrangement, it can render it visible and tangible, and consequently opaque, that while separated from the body, the perispirit of a living individual can undergo the same transformations, and that this change of state occurs through combining of fluids.
Okay,
Next,
thanks.
okay.
Okay. Outside of an altered state of consciousness, okay, just in our normal daily living, I'm sure everyone has experienced oneself or with a loved one or with people that you work with, how some of us seems to look quite different according to our emotional state, what according to how we are feeling certain times. You probably have seen individuals who look extremely radiant, bright, with a very attractive appearance when they are in that state of mind, when they are happy, when they don't have to open their mouth and say anything. You look at them and you know how they are feeling. And at the same to the opposite, you can look at someone and know that someone is not doing quite well that day. That's gloomy appearance. It's someone who looks like a rainy day, so to say, right? We can see that even outside of any state of altered state of consciousness, outside of any trance, we can see that in our daily lives. Everyone has experienced, and that is the very minimal of Kardec saying that our muscles, especially the facial muscles, will be more contracted or more relaxed. It will attract more the blood flow. The blood flow will be better on that area. The blood vessels will be more contracted or more uh, vasodilated, and all that will give appearance of being more pale or more, there's a sick appearance, or the opposite as well, maybe more bright and more reddish with the signs of good health. We've seen that, and as I'm sure everybody who with minimal of observance having noticed that in ourselves and in other people as well, right? So even outside of any trends, we can see those differences that happens to us. Now Kardec brings over here that the principle that a spirit can give its perispirit any appearance it chooses, make sure that he use the word in principle. Okay, so in principle here means with the potential true. We all have the potential true. We all have the potential to play the piano as long as you have hands and fingers. How many of us are playing the piano? We all have the potential of swim 4 different styles. How many of us can jump the swimming pool now and swim the 4 different styles? But we all have the potential to. It's a characteristic, it's an attribute of the human being. But not everybody's playing the piano, not everybody is swimming 4 different styles, right? So in principle, the spirit, we can give our perispirit the appearance that we choose. Of course, some prerequisites are necessary, right? And the way that we do that is by modifying the molecular arrangement. Is the semi-perispirit. We manipulate the things here and there, and we change its appearance. The example that Luis gave last time that we spoke, there is two things in nature that is carbon and carbon only. Nothing but carbon. One is graphite, the other one is diamond. The only difference is how the crystals are organized. The crystals organized, the carbon crystals organized in one way, it become hard, the hardest thing that we have on Earth. It becomes beautiful, translucent, transparent, and it can reflect light. And depends how those carbons organize themselves um, in its crystals. It will look like something opaque, something soft, perhaps one of the soft things graphite is, and it's exactly the same thing. Both of them are carbon, and nothing but carbon. So, but just the way it rearranges the molecules, the crystals, it will look completely different. So the perispirits have the ability of doing the same thing. Okay.
Okay, continue. Okay. Next, let us imagine the perispirit of a living person, not separated from the body, but instead radiating all around the body in such a way as to envelope it like a kind of vapor. In this state, it can undergo the same modifications as when it is away. If it loses its transparency, the body can seem to disappear, to become invisible and veiled as if it had been immersed in some kind of a fog. It could even change its appearance and become luminous depending on the will or power of the spirit. If another spirit were to combine its own fluids with those of the former, it could substitute itself for the person's appearance in such a way that his or her real body disappears, covered by an exterior fluid envelope, whose appearance can vary as the spirit wills. This appears to be the true cause of this strange phenomenon, and we must state that transfiguration is quite rare. The difference in weight can be explained in the same way as the change in inert objects. That is, the intrinsic weight of the body itself does not vary, since the amount of its matter does not increase. Instead, the body is influenced by an outside agent that can increase or decrease its relative weight, as we explained in number 78 above. Therefore, transfiguration into the form of a child would probably decrease the weight proportionately.
Okay, it's clear, right? Everybody understood how it happens, right?
Sorry. Several words confuse me.
Okay, so let's try to break this down a little bit. So we do understand. Let's put us ourselves now here, okay? That of our perispirit can modify its shape according to the will of the spirit. Okay, we talk about that. That's clear, right? Any questions on that? Good. So now we understand that we, the spirit, perispirit complex, we are not inside of the physical body. That's clear also, right? We are somewhat by its side, by the side of the physical instrument, right? But not really inside of the body, right? So what Kardec proposes over here now is, imagine now, and you know that, okay, another important thing, the perispirit can expand as well, right? They can go it can make itself bigger or smaller, right? The perispirit according to the will of the spirit, right?
Yes.
So now imagine, um, I was going to use the word phagocytosis, but I don't think everybody understands this process as well.
Nope.
So imagine, let's say that the perispirit is next to the physical body, and the perispirit starts to expand, become bigger and bigger and bigger, and now it goes and kind of engulfs the physical body, as if now the physical body is inside of the perispirit.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so that's pretty much the process of phagocytosis, right? The a bacteria, a white cell, it gets closer to the bacteria and involves it and swallows it up. Okay. Now that perispirit kind of is involving the physical body, but it's still transparent or it's still invisible, right? According to the will of the spirit, using the mind, it can change the shape. It can change the perispirit from translucent, transparent, invisible, whatever word you want, to opaque. So now it becomes somewhat visible. But not only that, I, with the will of my power as the spirit, will change the shape of my perispirit. I'm going to look like something else according to the will of my own, according to my will. So now the perispirit kind of surrounded completely the physical body, okay, but it's still completely invisible. But I want to change the shape and the translucency of my perispirit, and I'm gonna make it opaque and look like I don't know, look like my deceased father, whatever. But this is me doing. This is me doing. Okay, understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's assume that in a mediumistic event, now there is the approximation of the two perispirit. Let's assume that I'm a medium in a state of trance. And let's say that now my daddy approximates to me, and that is the perispirit to perispirit contact, in which I allow my daddy to put his will to modify my perispirit that is surrounding my body. And the will of my daddy is that my perispirit will look like my daddy's perispirit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to look like my daddy.
Yes.
Okay? Because that's what happens in mediumship, right? The approximation of the two perispirits. And now in that interaction, the medium will receive the thoughts, the emotions, and other things from the spirit, right? But could also allow that that spirit changes the perispirit that is now surrounding the physical body of the medium, and therefore the medium will have a different appearance, will look like the spirit, perispirit, giving the communication or interacting with the medium at that moment. Is that understood? Questions? Philip, with
I
words. Which word is still
My
baffling
first,
you?
the phrase "when it's away," I haven't figured out yet. I understand that this is about the perispirit, the series of perispirits expanding beyond the physical body.
Mhm.
But in this state, it can undergo the same modifications as when it is away. That's what I don't understand.
We remember when we studied Bi-Corporeality. You understand? You understood that the spirit when it's away is Bi-Corporeality, basically, right?
No, I didn't. I don't understand that.
No. Okay. So Bi-Corporeality is the ability of we incarnate seems to be or seems not to be present at two different places at the same time, right?
Okay.
And that will happen when the physical body is at rest or does not require full cognitive function. Then the perispirit can go somewhere and do some work. So that is when the perispirit is away.
Okay.
Okay, and away it can perform all those functions of becoming opaque, of assuming a different shape. If the perispirit can do that away, it can also do not away, next to the body,
Okay.
right there next to the body.
Okay. Very good. So I now understand it's just saying that it can do different things as if it were traveling away and presenting itself physically someplace else.
Right. And now you see the smartness of Kardec that the sequence turn out. First had to explain by corporeality, and then he would explain transfiguration. Everything has a very logical sequence here. So if you understand that the perispirit can do things away by corporeality, and it can do things close also, and one of those things close would be transfiguration. You understand, in order to do the transfiguration, the spirit could not be away. It would have to be right there.
It's
Because
right here.
it has to involve, it has to swallow up, so to say, the physical body. So it has to be present, could not be away. Okay?
Okay.
Any more questions? Any more? Because this is, well, at least for me, it wasn't that easy. Okay, and then Kardec comes and it talks about how perhaps it makes sense that, like this young girl, it becomes
The brother.
heavier. The physical become heavier because through the mind of that brother, it identifies itself as someone with that big belly, with a much bigger, body mass. That when they put in the weight, will reflect the way that perispirit presents itself. Okay, very hard to understand. To me, even harder to accept sometimes. I do accept, but I have to read this quite a few times. Okay, but then it proposed the reverse. Let's assume now that it's the opposite way. It was the brother that is much bigger, and and the disease was the young girl that is much smaller. Could that also go on the scale and present itself with a lesser weight, with a smaller body mass? Okay, in principle, in theory, yes. Okay.
At least from these
Speak
examples,
close to the microphone, please.
you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. at least from these examples, I couldn't get it like, not that it's that important, but just out of curiosity, the level of detail on this transfiguration. Because let's say that you are, you are a woman and you're doing the transfiguration for to be look like a man. No, you have facial hair, you have different stuff, skin color, this kind of stuff that plays a part on the appearance. So I was just wondering if it's just like this shapeshifter thing is just of on the facial expression, let's put that way, or is something more detailed? And also, if this is something that it would take time, because for the other phenomena that is pretty much the appearance of the spirits in somewhere, we pretty much assume that's a little bit faster. But since we are talking about a change on the physical appearance, is this something like it takes, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours, 2 minutes?
No. It's pretty much immediately. The medium goes into a mediumistic trance, approximates the perispirit, expands its perispirit, allow another perispirit to approximate and take the shape of or take a completely different shape. Almost, it's matter of seconds. It's immediately.
Mm.
I mean, remember
And
that at least in hypothesis, the velocity in the spiritual world is much greater than our physical world. So things happen spontaneously fast.
And you see, like, if the person used to have a mustache and a beard or something, you would see all the stuff.
Yes, you'll see everything that the spirit's mind chooses to express. And remember that the physical body now is completely engulfed, is swallowed. You don't see the physical body of the medium that more. More you see is the opaque perispirit of the medium itself or of another spirit. And it be immediately, not just no hours, minutes, no, like that. You don't witness a metamorphosis in front of you going and the girl disappearing and the man appearing. Now it's once. Have you seen Divaldo Pereira Franco when he receives Dr. Bezerra de Menezes? That is a simple, because if you read more on transfiguration, we divide transfiguration simple and complex, and that, of course, is a simple one it is still Divaldo Pereira Franco, but if you look at her face, his face is transfigured, and his voice is completely transfigured. If anyone had witnessed that, when Divaldo receives Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, it is a simple transfiguration. You can, once he put his head down, and when he brings his head up to start speak, you almost get a shock for, what happened here? You still recognize there would be Divaldo, but it's a different face of Divaldo, not the same that when he was giving the talk on his own. And the spirit approximate, the perispirit approximate, that is in that mediumistic trance, boom, the phenomena happens. It's not minutes or anything like that.
And that would happen with any other medium, or that is the purpose of that phenomena happening, so people could see that's Bezerra de Menezes.
I don't know if it would happen with another medium. I think not every medium has that ability as an attribute. It would happen with the mediums who have that attribute.
Mhm.
So it's not like every time in that, it's not something that from Bezerra that, you know, every time he will communicate, the medium itself will have that. If, I mean, okay, hold on a second. If
It's not the medium, the spirit that produces that. It's the ability of the medium to have that, to produce that.
oh, so it's like the media is like a receptor of that faculty that's happening, and then can transfigure that so people can see it.
The medium has the ability to do it. It happens naturally. It's not even forced to say. The medium says, "Oh, I'm gonna process a transfiguration." No, it happens naturally.
Thank you.
Think, Renato, think of the same thing as a regular medium, right? Psychography. A spirit may want to write through someone. If this someone is not a psychographer medium or is not a medium, the spirit may want to write anything. Nothing's going to happen. So it depends always on the medium, right?
Mm.
The ability of the medium to express the phenomenon.
And I had one thing besides the time. You had one other question also. What was it?
I forgot. Oh, the detail, the level of the detail. You answered that already.
Oh,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
the-
I answered
yeah,
that.
it
That's
was the-
correct.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was the level of detail and the timing of the.
Yeah, with very clear and fine level of detail. So the point that those diseases are easily recognizable, right? Even the facial hair or anything else will be present.
And that ability, let's put that way, from the medium, it's also like mediumship. That's something that is already there, or is something that is developed.
I would imagine here, I don't know absolutely, that is already there. That is an organic component that allow it to happen. Now, it could be a latent organic component that later start to be expressed, but it had to be there. I don't think that, no, I don't have it, but I'll create one. I don't think so. If you are able of performs things like that, you already have the seeds of it there. That maybe will grow later, but it's already there.
And that's a term that we use often, like it's latent, that will be developed later.
Yes.
But how does the medium, do you have any idea that has something that's like dormant or latent? Because
I don't think it does. I think once that the time is right, doing the right work, it will present itself when it's the time is right.
oh, okay.
Okay, continue.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Invisibility, 124. We can understand that the body can take on a larger appearance than its own, or an equal one. But how can it assume the smaller appearance of a child, as we have just proposed? In such a case, wouldn't the real body supersede the limits of the apparent one? That is why we have not said that such an occurrence has ever been actually produced. By referring to the theory of specific weight, we simply wanted to show that the apparent weight might also decrease. As for the phenomenon per se, we will neither affirm nor deny its possibility. However, if it is indeed possible, the fact that we cannot explain it satisfactorily does not invalidate it. We must not forget that we are still at the beginning of this science, and that it is still far from having said the final word concerning this point as well as many others. Besides, the parts of the body that would exceed the limits of the smaller one could perfectly well be rendered invisible. The invisibility theory naturally highlights the preceding explanations and those that refer to the apportation phenomenon.
You can finish 125.
Oh, 125? Okay.
Thanks.
We might have added a brief discussion of the strange phenomenon of a generatrice, which, as extraordinary as it might appear at first glance, is no more supernatural than any of the others. But since we have already explained it in the La Vue Spirit of February 1859, we believe it would not be worthwhile to go into detail at this time. We will simply state that it is a variety of tangible apparition and that a state of certain spirits who can momentarily assume the forms of living persons so as to produce a perfect illusion.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, so the point of Kardec here is, as he proposed up there, that if the body could look bigger and weight more, in theory, one would say it could look smaller and weight less as well. But then the important question would be, but would at that point the physical body that is still present overweight the perispirit? Which logical if my perispirit or the perispirit of someone who's 2 times smaller than I now influence my physical body, my perispirit, my physical body is still engulfed by my perispirit, then my physical body should not weight less. It could, in reality, should weight as much as I weight or more. Would not expect it to weight less. But in theory, it could happen. But in Kardec says they had not noticed the opposite happen of in transfiguration, that the weight of the medium becomes smaller, because indeed this is something hard to understand. If an alligator swallow me alive, the alligator would weight its weight plus my weight. It makes no sense that it would weight less, even if the alligator is much bigger than I am. So but in theory, if it could weight more, it could weight less. Okay, and I think very important says, however, if it is indeed possible, the fact that we cannot explain it satisfactorily does not invalidate it. There is a very humble and important concept here. The fact that I cannot explain something doesn't mean that thing does not exist or does not happen. It does mean that I do not understand how it happens. It does mean that I have no idea how, but it does not invalidate what I'm seeing, what's right there present to my eyes. If one day, in a state of trance, a medium that weight, let's say 100 pounds, naturally out of in a normal state, now in a mediumistic trance, goes on the scales, and the same scale, now weighs 75 pounds, 25 pounds less. I see it, it's right there. I cannot explain, but it's there. The fact that I cannot explain does not eliminate the fact. And that's a very important and humble concept. And things like that, they happens all the time. I always use the example of aspirin. Aspirin was discovered was invented or discovered, whatever you want, in 1897. Had no idea how it worked, but you give somebody aspirin, you decrease inflammation, you decrease body temperature. If somebody has had a fever, you give aspirin, the fever goes down. Somebody has a inflammatory process going on, you give aspirin, you decrease the inflammatory process. Nobody had an idea how it worked, but it worked. It was until 1935 that you got to understand something of prostaglandins. And it was not until 1976 that you got to understand how aspirin work. So, from 1897 to 1976, we're taking aspirin and doctors are prescribing aspirin without have any idea how it works. But the fact is that it worked.
Mm.
So phenomena that is happening in front of our eyes now, we may choose to be stupid enough and say, I don't believe I'm seeing, but I don't believe it. Or you may have the humble approach to say, I'm seeing, it's a fact, but I can explain it. And that is a very humble and reasonable approach to take. Now, when it comes to the agenerists, I know I'm going to go there. I printed out the part of the Spiritist review of 1859, I believe, but I didn't get a chance to read myself, so I'm not going to comment. But basically, is what it means basically is generis is to cause to exist, to be a reason that something exists. Okay, and A means no. So without a cause to exist, without a non-cause to exist. And that is in relationship to things, mediumist phenomena that would happen without a reason or without a cause. We only see the effect, we don't see the cause. Okay, that would be things like hands, just a pair of hands without nothing, nobody, just a pair of hands showing up and moving. It was witnessed, things like that happening, and Kardec says one of the things well, it happened. It's right there. People saw it, but we don't know. We don't know the cause for it to exist. Okay, that is as much as I can go in there because I haven't read the whole article myself. Didn't have I printed but didn't get a chance to read it. Okay, any questions?
Yeah, I read a little bit of the article, Elmo, and generally it really talks about the appearance of a materialized spirit in out of nowhere, right? That was not there. So that there is no explanation for the appearance. There is
Yes.
no reason. And actually, there is a fact of people that believe that Jesus was a January, that he never incarnated. Yes. So it's not something very unknown in the religious community. Even amongst early spiritists, there is a sect that believes that Jesus was a January who did not incarnate, and we have no reason to believe in that, because by all the teachings, the history, the research that we read about Jesus. But
yeah, if Mary was a virgin, then it would have to be in a January to begin with, right then and there. Yeah, so that is the idea. But not only the whole, but only a head would show up sometimes, and only a pair of hands would show up. and without a cause to exist, without a reason to exist, basically.
Yeah. So the idea is for people that are that was not born, they appear, right?
Right.
And then the spirits is revealed. They talk about it, that it is that there are. It's very rare, but it happens. But there are some cases that are bi-corporeality, which is different.
Yamo.
Yep.
I'm not doubting, and I believe in the transfiguration, but at least for myself, unlike the other phenomena, I'm still not quite sure how the phenomena at that time was helping the spiritist movement, for people to believe, for people to understand, and that was useful at that time. Because now the other things, even the tables, the bicorporeality, the apparitions, all those things kind of, make sense. But someone changed their, physical appearance. I'm not sure if I get the point that was, the chapter is trying to give to us.
Because the fact happens, and once it happens, we will try to understand it. Okay, if you put in a historical concept, the only way that Kardec could put in the book if it happened, and if it happened and it is a mediumistic phenomenon, it has to be in the book. Okay, it's the phenomenon happens. It was observed. Let's say that somebody sent a letter to Kardec and says, we have this 15 years old girl over here that when she goes in the mediumistic trance, her body completely changed. And Kardec, with his scientific mind, says, oh, I have to check that out. And he goes and he studies and he does all this investigation, and he passes to us the result of his investigation. So what is the significance of that? The fact is that it happens. The same thing, the corporeality happens the same way the psychography and psychophony happens. And now it happened, was documented, somebody's reliable document that it did happen. Now I have to observe it. I have to see how, if you can explain it. Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. The ones that we can't, we throw in that big bag called a what's the word again? A generous. We cannot explain. We see it happens, but did our work, did our studies, and we got nothing. You throw in the bag of that generous. But the ones that we can explain, transfiguration, we will explain and we're going to present in the book. Because tomorrow you will go to a spirit center in somewhere in the interior of Sao Paulo, and you're going to see a medium, completely modified physical body. You're going to be in shock. But not no more, because now you understand that. Oh, there's a process of transfiguration. I know this. Now, if your question is, how does it help mankind to be better? To understand the process is important. It makes us knowledgeable, but it happens naturally, and that's the important point. It's not that devout prayers say, I'm going to transform, I'm going to process a phenomenon of transfiguration so everybody can see it. No, it happens naturally. That's the way it processes, the same way that a psychography happens naturally. And then you wanted to explain that happened.
Thank you.
Okay, should we start the chapter 8? What time is it? I don't have the time.
Oh, we have 2 minutes left. Yeah.
No, so we're not going to go there. Now we're going to get, I think it's going to get a little bit easier and more interesting. The laboratory or the invisible world. Is there any questions? And you said something interesting. It's not that I'm doubt. Tell you the truth, when I first read, I doubted. I said, no. Now you're pushing the envelope here, Kardec. I'm not going there. All right. And I think that anyone who is free spirit, free mind, to read and agree or disagree, believe or disbelieve, doubt or not doubt, should do so. It's not because Kardec wrote it and I have to believe it. I have to do my own reasonable, intellectual work to kind of take or not take.
Yes, because I've seen little bits of transfiguration, even in mediumship sessions. When the spirit is angry or crying or whatever it is, but there is a messaging involved on that, and then, but at least the way I perceived them here in the book, it wasn't like there was a message to be delivered. There was something happened. There was just the phenomenon of transfiguration, right?
But there is no message when you see a spirit, a mirror receive an angry spirit and modifies its appearance and the tone of voice. That is not a message. It happens naturally, unintentionally, basically. That's why it happens. It's not with the intention of giving us a message. It's just the way it happens.
Message in a sense that there's something, because on those phenomena, the medium or the person that was going through the phenomena was doing something, like giving a communication, or was just sitting there and then the phenomena happens so people would
No,
see it.
no, it is a mediumistic trance. That medium is providing a communication right there.
There
There
you
is a
go.
perispirit to perispirit interaction there also,
Okay.
just like the cacophonies. But in this case, it goes. The cacophony comes with a transfiguration.
Okay, yeah, I missed that part. Now makes sense. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, because that's completely different now. Okay, it's just a little bonus that we get. We get a chance to witness that. Okay? As our final prayer.
Okay.
Oh, you are. You want to, Sarita, or no?
You want to do it, Carol? It's okay.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Dear Father, our Christ, our teacher, our spiritual benefactors, as we come to the end of our meeting, learning and continuing, understanding who we really are, we are so grateful. We thank you for allowing our teachers to come again and relive all that we need to know, giving us understanding to move forward and follow our Father's footsteps. May we, throughout the week, dear Lord, be able to continue our studies at home, and if we can, with family members, with friends, continuing the understanding of studying and putting as much as we can into practice in our lives, helping all those that are in need of understanding. We can see clearly now so much of what we didn't know before. And with that, dear Lord, we are so grateful. We thank you. And we ask as we go throughout the week, may we keep our prayers to all our brothers and sisters that are going through so much, dear Lord. May we continue with prayers, sending them love and serenity now and always. We are so grateful, dear Lord, and we thank you. May we continue throughout the week with our study groups and with our prayers, and meet again next week with our teachers and our brothers and sisters as we are tonight. We thank you, dear Lord. And with that in mind, we ask permission to close our meeting tonight. So be it.